Welcome to Industry Insights with Route Consultant, your front row seat to the fast-moving world of logistics and beyond. Each week, we bring you game-changing insights, real-world strategies, and fresh perspectives to fuel smarter investments and build stronger businesses. Join us as we sit down with expert guests to explore emerging trends and pressing topics across a wide range of industries. This is Industry Insights.
Steve, it is a pleasure to have you here in Houston. It's good to have you in a chair beside me. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
So, we talk all the time, but I think it is something we don't get to talk often enough about how you actually got to this whole world of insurance. Sure. We talk about FedEx, but when you think back, was insurance the dream? Is that how you grew up?
I started talking at 3 or 4 years old, and I looked at my parents. I said, I want to sell insurance for a living. It's exactly how it went. No, surprisingly, not at all. I had a mentor when I was in college, and I actually went to him and I said, hey, do you have any friends that might offer an internship to a freshman in college? And he said, why don't you come work for me? So, okay, well, what do you do? And it was insurance. No, it's been a really fun journey. I started in a different segment of the industry. The industry has been very good to me. I've had, that mentor. I've had several other mentors along the way, some great colleagues that have really helped me out. And hard to believe it, but about 4 years at OVD, which means 4 years completely dedicated to the final mile industry. And it's just, as you know, as well as anyone, it's been a wild ride. It's been a fun ride, but it's been a wild ride.
So you said OVD. What does OVD stand for?
OVD actually stands for Oliver Van Dyke Insurance. We are no longer owned by any Olivers or any Van Dykes, but those are the guys that started our firm. And I mean, that's a mouthful, right? Yeah. Oliver Van Dyke Insurance Agency, Inc. Say that 10 times fast. OVD just became the brand.
Especially because Oliver is spelled differently. So
yes,
I always try to say it a different way. Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Love it. So
OVD. So is it just final mile? What is OVD?
Yeah, great question. And I think in our world, a lot of people don't recognize the impact of OVD nationally. The brand outside of what my team and I do. We're an independent insurance agency. We're one of the largest independent insurance agencies in the entire country. Who's making those lists, what that means. We're about 200 employees. We've got 3 offices. Our main office is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's where I'm based. That's where most of our final mile team is based. Have an office in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then an office in Raleigh, North Carolina. The majority of our business is property and casualty insurance or commercial insurance. We have an employee benefits department that does, your employee health plans, both for small employers, large employers, individual health plans. And then we have your personal lines department, life insurance department. So pretty much anything insurance we can do. And as a segment of that group, when you think about now the team of 8 people that's focused on final mile, 8 compared to 200 is basically nothing. So we're lean, we're mean, we're young, which is unique.
For insurance?
Yes, for sure. And it's been a lot of fun. When I think about OVD Insurance, 3 words that describe us: it's fun, we're client-centric, and we're all about growth. We're all about making insurance fun as best we can. Everything we do is about our clients. Every decision we make, every initiative that we drive, it's for the client. And then what is business without growth? We have big plans. We have a bright future ahead of us, and we are all about getting to the next level.
I think we make this joke all the time. Insurance is boring. Insurance is dry. What is it about insurance that draws you in, that makes you excited to be serving in this space, regardless of last mile, FedEx, whatever it is? What is it about insurance that draws you in?
Yeah, it's the people. At the end of the day, I think that any type of business, you're dealing with people, right? What's unique about insurance, for better or for worse, we all need it in some capacity. And if you need to buy something, you might as well be working with someone to help you buy it that you actually enjoy. So that's what originally drew me in. What's kept me in it? I love working with entrepreneurs. I love working with business owners. I love discussing real issues, real problems. I like bringing solutions to them. Insurance is really just the vehicle for the type of consulting work that we do with our clients.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't think many people describe insurance that way, even if ultimately that's what it is. And I think that's, a valid
I don't
reason.
like paying my personal auto premiums.
Correct.
And my, homeowners insurance that much either. So
yeah, I think about it. Any insurance in my life, I don't think I can name a single person like an agent that I work with in any capacity. So the way you're describing insurance is not the way I think about insurance, or anyone really thinks about insurance. So it is a pleasant surprise to think about insurance that way, and to hear somebody talk.
We call
about
it our insurance evangelism. So
okay.
we believe it to be a best kept secret. Kind of the red-haired stepchild of the financial industry.
Correct. But, I think it doesn't help that a lot of the insurance brokers I know are my friends trying to sell me insurance.
That whole life insurance policy. You don't want to buy that yet, Josh?
Yeah,
come on,
exactly. Man. Right out of college. It's not the pitch that I was ready to hear. Yeah. So, you're in insurance, you're at OVD. Mm-hmm. What was it like as the final mile, as you termed it? What is that division, and what was that like as you started to develop it?
It's gone from something to something bigger, but really it was nothing. As soon as 7 years in the rear view for us, maybe 8 years at this point. So kind of our genesis into FedEx, we had a producer, that's what we refer to as salespeople within our agency and just within the commercial insurance market or industry. She was working on a traditional transportation account, and she found out that this traditional trucker just owned over-the-road trucking routes, also owned FedEx routes. And he said, hey, I've loved working with you on this traditional trucking business. Would you help with my FedEx routes? And she said, FedEx routes? What do you mean?
What does that mean?
So that was kind of the genesis for us. It led her down a rabbit hole. She began working with several contractors just in Michigan, Indiana, some into Ohio, but really just regionally based. I actually had a good friend who was at the firm at that time, and when the producer that started those relationships ended up leaving, she left the insurance industry altogether. He took over what they were affectionately calling a program. I think there was maybe 5-10 clients in it at that point. We obviously met you guys. We got connected with a few other big time influencers within the last mile space. When I came in 2021, we were working with about 25 contractors, just still really in the Midwest. And fast forward to today, man, it's 400 FedEx and Amazon. Yeah. So FedEx CSPs, Amazon DSPs. We're in 46 different states. We have the team of 8. It's just been a blast. It's been a blast.
A little bit of a rocket ship.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's an old adage and really cliche. People think that the path to success is just up and to the right, and my experience has been nothing like that. It's up, down, sideways. Sometimes you feel like you're going backwards, then you actually realize you're going forward.
Yeah. I think that's how this journey's been for a lot of us as we found this space, and the rocket ship that it goes up really fast sometimes, and sometimes it turns back around. And
and it's true for our clients, right? And I think there's anytime you're going to play in a space, specifically with a company like FedEx. I mean, it's a household name. Everyone knows it, and they're huge. They're very good at what they do. It's a little interesting and unique for them to be partnered with all of these small business, entrepreneurial-minded individuals. And those small businesses, they need people in vendor roles. They need people in service roles to come alongside them, to be in the trenches with them, to know who they are, know what their personal lives are outside of the business, and help them progress. Because when left to their own devices, I mean, it's a tale as old as time. David is not oftentimes taking down Goliath, at least not on his own.
Yeah. So you think about it, you went from 25 to 400 in a few years, client-wise. What do you think was what drove your success there? What is it that helped you guys stand out and be successful?
Yeah. I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
I think that the ownership team at OVD, which we're privately held, pretty not uncommon in our space, but it is very common for an insurance agency to grow and then sell to private equity or a bank, merge with another insurance agency. The guys that own our firm, guys and gals that own our firm, have remained independent. I think that makes us unique. What it allows for us to do is that when I meet a client, they're dealing with me, and they're dealing with my team. when that client has a claim, when that client has a billing issue, when that client is preparing for a renewal, they're continuing to deal with us. I mean, my clients have my cell phone number. My closest clients, they've become good friends.
Yep.
We text about things that have nothing to do with insurance. I learn about the space that has nothing to do with what I do for the space because of those conversations. And again, it goes back to one of my original points that people want to do business with who they like. I'm not out here proclaiming that, I'm some super likable guy or anything like that, but it all comes down to those deep relationships that we've been able to foster.
Okay.
I think that externally, the most rewarding part of my job with OVD is getting to interact with entrepreneurs, getting to solve real world issues with them, getting to learn about their businesses and, just dive into those trenches with them like I've talked a lot about today. Internally, OVD has been a wonderful place for me. It has provided so much opportunity for me, for my family. I never thought that I would be able to accomplish what I have, and truly that's because of the organization. Now to get to turn around and bring some others along with me and get them to get to watch them achieve more than what they ever thought they could, it's really special.
Yeah, and when I think about, I mentioned it earlier when I think about insurance, but when I think about you all in particular, that has been one of the biggest differentiators of why I continue to push people back to you, is that I know if I send someone to you and say, hey, work with Steve on this insurance, they'll continue to work with you. It's not, I'm not sending them to a faceless agency where they speak with somebody when they sign up for insurance, they speak with somebody when they renew their insurance. It's different than that person. They speak with a third person when they're resolving claims, and it's, they don't have their number, they just call a line. And then that frustration is what I think adds to the feeling of what makes insurance such a almost like bad word, a curse word, and because you're just like, I've got to deal with insurance again. That's the way you think about it, as opposed to, I think a lot of the people who come and talk to you find value beyond just the solution of, resolving a claim, but they actually get to work with you to find ways to improve their business.
Yeah. And it takes a village, right? The team that we have at OVD is full of special, caring people. It's rare to be a part of a team that just truly loves what they do, that shows up to work, wants to make a difference, that is willing to deal with, the highs, the lows, the issues, the positive moments with a client. We have a team full of people like that at OVD, so I feel incredibly fortunate to be a part of that team. And then past that, obviously, the nature of an insurance agent, we're not the ones on the hook for the claim, right?
True.
We are representing all of these different partners, all of these different carriers. Notably our relationship with the Hartford has been spectacular, not only for our personal growth, but we believe that it's been really good for, the clientele. They needed a national carrier to be introduced to the space.
Talk to me, what is your relationship with the Hartford? Talk to me a little bit about that.
I mean, it's been 5 years. I can't take credit personally for getting it off the ground. But our chief growth officer reached out to, our representatives at the Hartford and said, hey, we have this opportunity in the last mile space. We know you don't do a whole lot of trucking insurance, but what do you think about it? And it's just evolved into this fantastic relationship. There's a up and coming underwriter at the Hartford. I won't be surprised if he's, number one or number two eventually down the line. Mike Keller, and Mike has just been a student of the game, a student of the industry. I can remember when he showed up to a Route Consultant New Investor Summit just to sit there and learn. And that's rare. You don't have insurance underwriters normally, let alone getting out into the field, but
even leaving,
just leaving their office, right? So for him to take that upon him, it's allowed us to really understand the clients, understand where their pain points are, which, to your points, with insurance, there can be many. And within reason, I mean, it's still bureaucratic, archaic, and a little difficult to adjust insurance programs, but how can we make these things actually useful? How can we make them as modern and applicable as possible to the clientele?
And, yes, you're talking to new people who are getting into the space sometimes, but you're also talking to contractors who are currently in the space. And so you see all different kinds of understanding of how insurance should work. What do you find yourself most often kind of trying to educate and correct people who have a very maybe outdated or incorrect view of how they should think about their insurance? Like what are you often trying to correct or educate on there when you first talk to people?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions or common fallacies that I see, business owners think that they don't have control over their ultimate insurance spend. Again, people look at an insurance bill, they're like, I either never use it and I have to pay for it, or every time I try to use it, it doesn't respond the way that I want it to. A safety culture, a safety program, it starts at the top. And the route owners that are out there that are serious about that type of safety culture, those are the folks that, their insurance program isn't their safety program. It's just a part of what they're doing, and when they need it, it's there, they understand how it works, and it makes a really big difference within their company. People that are kind of playing this victim and thinking that, okay, I'm just gonna roll over every single year, and when Steve calls me 3 months before my renewal date, I'm just gonna take that number and move on. That's not a recipe for success. So I try to share with people that, I know you have a million things on your plate, but this is important. You have control over it. You can make an impact on it. Your team can make an impact on it. So take it seriously, right? I also think that people get wrong about insurance, that it's just a data game. Underwriters, they want to work with people that they like too. So if you're working with an agent, if as a business owner, you can control your narrative to the underwriting desk, you can explain to them what you've learned over the years, you can explain to them what you're doing and why, and ultimately why you're going to be a good risk for them to get onto, with their insurance company. That's only going to bode well for you in the future. And then from the element of buying insurance, I think we all like the idea of going out and, creating a competitive situation from a pricing perspective for ourselves. You do it, I do it, we all do it. Naturally, we've all kind of been conditioned that why shouldn't I go out and talk to 5, 6, 7 different insurance agents all at the same time? And in our world, if you talk to 5, 6, or 7 different insurance agents, we all represent, generally speaking, the same insurance carriers. And insurance carriers are only going to release one quote to any one agent. And it's just counterintuitive. What you're doing is you're creating underwriter fatigue. These people that are actually receiving the data on the other side, they're getting conflicting data from different agents. They're getting, bits and pieces of the story as opposed to one succinct story. So then when it comes time for them to actually look at the business and say, okay, what quote, what terms am I willing to put on the table? They don't even have the proper information to deliver a great product. So it's find an independent agent. If you have one independent agent that you like and another one brings something to the table that first one doesn't have, maybe work with 2. But just, again, work with people that you like, that you trust, and you're going to come out ahead in the long run.
I think that's a big one that people that still get wrong all the time. As many times as I've heard you tell people that the idea of I'm trying to increase competition by having multiple people, but really you are significantly hurting your chances to get a better rate because you just want one agent that can be as competitive as possible by taking the rates to all the carriers. But if you don't understand it, if you haven't heard it before, it's not like a crazy mistake to make. It's just that you don't understand.
And obviously they're not actually working with, paper stacks, but whenever I think about some of my underwriting partners, I think about them having these stacks of paper on their desk and there's their to-do list. And if they keep seeing the same piece of paper come from 7 different sources and it's slightly different every single time, where's the motivation to want to work on that deal, want to work on that opportunity? So just like us, they want good partners. They want people that appreciate what they bring to the table. That's what they're looking for.
So we've talked about it, how people come to you, but can you walk me through kind of a story of how you've helped, some of your best customers understand the space, get in, and kind of the impact that you've seen OVD make?
Yeah. We always try to lead with education first. I think with any type of consultative business, with any type of services business, not every client is a good fit for, every service provider, right? That's true for us as well. We can typically understand and kind of figure out, are we going to jive well with this client or not? And leading with education is how we like to do that. If the client values that education, if they value that knowledge, typically they're folks that end up working with us for a long time. I think there's a lot of things that separate OVD from other insurance agencies, but at the end of the day for me, it's the fact that we are independent and we're privately held. What that allows us to do, we're nimble, We're all about our clients. We're always looking to go where our clients take us, right? That's what we always say is, where are we going next? It's where our clients are taking us. And there's not many agencies out there that are able to be flexible, that are able to be as responsive, and ultimately are able to do the things that we can do for our clientele.
So, you work with both FedEx contractors and Amazon contractors. We'll start with FedEx. What do you think are some of the trends in the insurance space for FedEx that you think people should be aware of if they're getting into the space, or even just trying to figure out how to make their insurance work better for them?
Sure. So FedEx is always going to be unique from an insurance perspective because for now and for the foreseeable future, right? FedEx Express contractors operate underneath FedEx's Department of Transportation number. I said it earlier today. Liability follows the DOT number. So anytime that these FedEx contractors are out on behalf of FedEx, out under dispatch, it's FedEx's liability that's picking up that primary auto exposure. In the insurance marketplace right now, there is no hotter or line of coverage that's running hotter than auto liability insurance. So what do I think FedEx contractors need to be aware of? Workers' compensation, which tends to be their most expensive line of coverage, or at least what they're putting the most premium towards. Not totally. We are starting to see that portion of the marketplace harden up a little bit. The early signs of that are typically we see some carriers that have been really, really affordable maybe start to pull back capacity, start to increase their prices, or even exit the space entirely. We've seen a few carriers begin to do that. I don't think it's time to, sound the alarm bells and say, hey, like your workers' compensation rates are really going to start increasing. But that's something that I would keep my eyes on if I was a FedEx contractor. The other thing, and we'll talk about this more on the Amazon side, there are more captives or alternative risk programs that are beginning to emerge that, in my professional opinion, are starting to make viable sense, both from an economical play as a business owner, from a mathematical side as far as how the captive works and, how the members of the captive that actually own the insurance company are rewarded. Those are starting to become more prevalent in the FedEx space. So I think some of those larger, specifically TSPs, but certainly some ISPs, the last mile guys, you need to keep your eye on that. Just be aware of what the industry is doing. Insurance is one of those things. It's very easy to just do what you've always done and never think about making any changes. There's not many paradigm shifts in our industry. So
that's fair. But at the same time, I think, just like you said, people can get stuck and not realize whether it's savings or just different ways of structuring their insurance program that can benefit them significantly in the health of their business because you think of it as such a transactional model.
Right. And since 2019, 2020, really since the e-commerce boom, since a grander portion of the population found out about the FedEx Express model, insurance is really going through one of its first big changes. There are new players coming into the space for auto insurance. There are workers' compensation carriers that are beginning to double down, that are offering things just above and beyond coverage. They're offering more resources. They're offering dividends. So there are options like that as well. But on the Amazon side, man, I mean, it is truly still the Wild West. I never hoped that commercial insurance would be a reason that entrepreneurs exit businesses, but unfortunately it's happening on the Amazon side. What I think Amazon DSPs need to be aware of is that those that aren't serious about that safety culture that I mentioned earlier, those that are just taking Amazon's requirements, that are accepting drivers that are approved by Amazon, putting them behind the wheel of a truck the next day without any further evaluation, any further training, they're going to pay the price. And some of those people are going to pay the price with their businesses. What the best DSPs are doing, they're instituting their own MVR monitoring processes. There are partners out there, above and beyond Amazon's requirements, and they will help you determine, is this employee someone that I should, one, hire in the first place, but two, allow to be behind the wheel of a commercial vehicle. What's more is that you have to save where you can. You have to maximize, squeeze the most juice out of the things that you can squeeze. So in insurance, that's still focusing on workers' compensation, still focusing on, the general liability, still focusing on the cargo insurance, making those costs as low as possible, because even if you're doing everything right, your business auto insurance, the way the market is trending, is probably going to keep on increasing. So
yeah. So it's not that there's no expense to have insurance with FedEx, but with Amazon in particular, and even several other trucking businesses, insurance is just such a higher expense that beyond just kind of pinching pennies, you really have to make sure that you're building a culture to protect yourself, honestly.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I was talking to a family friend, and he is in the reinsurance space, which is basically insurance companies for insurance carriers, right?
Yeah.
And he mentioned to me that since the early 1990s, plaintiffs' attorneys, injury attorneys, they've been getting together and they've basically been scheming, hey, how can we expose insurance carriers? How can we expose businesses so that when our individual clients get injured, whether legitimately or illegitimately, how can we get the most money for our clients, right? Just last year, 2024, the insurance industry finally decided that, hey, we should all get together. We should talk about how to counteract these personal injury attorneys. And for specifically Amazon DSPs, you have to know that there are people out there that anytime that you get into an incident, they are looking to file claims and looking to settle claims for max policy limits. And if you aren't attuned to that, I mean, you're sleeping under a rock. And it's really unfortunate. It's really sad commentary. But you have to be aware of that, and you have to have a plan to defend yourself, to defend your company, to defend your people.
Yeah.
Not if that accident happens, but when.
It's contingency planning in the same way we talk about everything else. That as a business owner, that's one of your most important responsibilities. And this is just a contingency you have to prepare for.
Absolutely.
And some people aren't even aware. So it's part of it's education, but then the other part is now that you know that it's a risk, you need to have a plan for it.
Yep.
So, one of the big ones on the FedEx side that's new that we've seen in recent years is EPLI, Employment Practices Liability Insurance. How have you seen those play out recently? Like, is that something that's benefited, been helpful for any of your clients?
Yeah, I think EPL is still a line of coverage that, relatively speaking, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck as a business owner. The rates are still pretty affordable, and as you and I have talked at great length, a full-blown employment practices liability claim, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when you're in a cash flow business, that can put you out. I think of a few times, one in particular, he's now no longer a FedEx CSP, but one of my clients who had become a close friend had an incident where an employee was making a legitimate accusation of a manager at his company, and it was going to be very bad. It was going to be very expensive to deal with, and that claim did litigate. Had my client not, and this was before FedEx required that folks purchase employment practices liability, had he not had an EPLI policy, that claim would have put him out of business. And so you asked me earlier, why do I care about insurance? What do I like about insurance? Truthfully, a lot of days I don't, just like a lot of other people. But when you see someone on their worst day and you know the product that you put in place for them, that you helped them purchase, that you educated them on, and that can be the difference between them continuing to operate as an entrepreneur versus not, that's impactful. That's real.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think that's, that says it beautifully in terms of everything that we do here. When we're trying to help contractors, help entrepreneurs, we're trying to match them with the right people, the right vendors, the right planning, so that one, they can be as successful as they can, but two, that they know that when the worst happens, that they've got a plan for it. And
definitely.
I see it all the time where I think you're one of the few that helps turn insurance away from being just a transactional bad word, like I said before, and makes it more of a relationship where you actually can be there to help them when they need it and plan for, ultimately the worst before it happens.
Yep, definitely.
So, Steve, I really appreciate you being here to talk through all of that and help people hopefully start to see the light that insurance doesn't have to be a painful conversation. You can you can sit down with Steve and have a good time. One of the things I always ask people when I've got them trapped in a chair with me.
Yeah, right.
What is your favorite movie or TV show? I'll allow you to say either, right?
Okay.
And it can be right now. I know one of the hardest things is what's your favorite movie of all time?
Yeah.
No good answer for that, but
so
now.
I'll talk about a TV show, but favorite movie, Inception, hands down.
Okay.
Just
Great
Christopher
movie.
Nolan.
Yep.
Blew my mind when I was like 10 and remains the same. I'm not dating or aging myself at all, right?
No.
Holly, my wife, and I, we just finished Silo on Apple TV a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
so I would say that takes the cake.
That was one of my wife's favorite shows of the last couple of years. She would make us stop everything once Silo came out. So, yeah.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Perfect. All right. Well, Steve, it was a pleasure having you.
Josh.
Thanks for being here to answer questions.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep.